On this episode, we go deep on the Q&A. John had the AKs being shot outside his house last night, but he's okay.
AKs.
He was still able to come here for the Q&A today. And
I got the AKs. I don't fuck. They weren't shooting. I got the AKs.
You do have the AKs. You didn't have to bring them out, though, which is good.
No.
I say, listen, show's good. We're having fun. It's Sunday. Let's go to the show.
Let's do it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going Q&A. It's actually Sunday. We're basically recording on the same day we're about to drop. Johnny had some serious shit go down outside his house last night, and I'm just glad he's okay. So I think, John, we should start there, and then we're going Q&A.
Yeah, man. I don't live in a war zone, but apparently some fucking punks were having a party last night. And dude, I wake up at it must have been 3 a.m. And I just think someone's banging like rapid succession, like banging on the door next door. And then it like stops. And then 2 minutes later, and I'm like, oh, fuck. No, I don't think anyone could, because I was half asleep. I don't think anyone could bang that fast. I think someone's fucking unloading clips. I'm like, fucking, hey, I think it's gunshots. Either way, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't coming my way. So like I went to bed, and, about 6 o'clock in the morning, about 8 cops roll up, and they're like, do you have outdoor surveillance? Long story short, some fucking punks were having a party, short-term rental, Airbnb, whatever. Fight broke out. Some fucking loser shoots 3 people. And the worst part is, like, my neighborhood's like cool, and this chick's walking her dog at night, and he fucking shoots her. Unbelievable. And this guy's got to be the worst shot in the world, because I had to have heard at least fucking 40 rounds. So either way, it sounds like the good thing is no one's in critical condition, which is great.
That's crazy.
But the vigilante in me would have loved to just fucking get this guy, but unfortunately I can't do that.
Yeah, no. What a crazy way to wake up, though, bro.
Well, it was funny because you think someone's pounding on it. Like when you hear the thing with gunshots is, depending on the strength of the gun, the fucking thing could be shooting 4 blocks away, and it could sound like it's right next to you. Or if it's a weak gun, it could be a half a block away. And so it's like, you don't know what it is, unless it's a fucking, like an AR or something. But
how actual close was it, John?
So from my front door, I would say it was, let's call it like 80 yards.
Okay. So, I mean, real fucking close.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. So I got some questions that came in, and here's a good one from R. Gilman.
Get the energy up, G. Get 16. The energy up.
I got you.
Listen. I know Rachel tells you that often, but I'm going to tell you, get the energy up.
This fucking guy. All right. How do you figure out where you should invest your money? So when you're looking at your, I guess, excess each month, how do you then say, here's where I put it, Johnny?
Number one, I don't think you should be in a rush to invest, because if you're in a rush, you're just going to put it in a place that sounds the best or makes the most sense at that moment, when in actuality, the best investments are the ones that make sense due to timing, due to market conditions. So it's like, okay, where I believe this guy's coming from is, I have some money and I'd like to invest it. I get it. Where I would put my money is I'd put it in the stock market, because the stock market, there's so many ways to play it. And if you talk to a professional in, financial advisor, whatever, they can explain mutual funds to you. They can explain how you should be aggressive if you're younger with a good income. But cyclically, you can look at historic, and it doesn't matter about pandemics. It doesn't matter about recessions. Historically, what the market returns. And as long as you're putting that money there and you're letting it ride, it's going to return X percentage. So I would look at the markets, and when looking at the markets right now, if that's where you want to be, what I'm doing, and I'm not saying to do what I do, is I'm just keying in on things that I don't believe can be threatened.
Yep.
And I believe will thrive in this new normal.
Yeah, I like that answer, John. And I think early when I started taking investing like way more serious, I would almost force some of the things instead of just waiting for the things I want or the
Right.
buys I like. And, you know, over the last year and a half, I sat a little bit more and was like, okay, I kind of know this rough estimate that I would like to get involved in the market or something this month, but let me wait till I see the day where I think it's the best to jump on it. You know what I mean? Because I think, like you said, you could rush it and then, you know, you could have kept your eye on something and it could be $3 cheaper 12 days later. That happens right now, like a lot, right?
Well,
I mean, a lot.
Yeah. And if you just rush into something. So for example, I got 30 grand. Where should I? Okay. So before you put it even in the market, you should do your research. You should do your homework. So like rushing into an investment. And I'm not saying this guy's posing the question that way. I'm just using that as an example. That's always the wrong move. Understanding where your money's going and how it could move either up or down is crucial. And you may want to put it as a down payment on a home that you rent out as an Airbnb, or something you rent out, or something you live in. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on situation. But if it's just like, listen, I got my home, I would say the market, and please understand the market before you put your money in it, because it will take your money.
Yeah, no, well said. Next question. Biggest change you have seen in the fitness industry or entrepreneurship in general? I guess maybe in the most recent times.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship in general is fake news. Meaning, like, it's just that I am embarrassed to use that word. Like, that's what I am, right? That's what you are. I don't like using that word because there's so many losers all over social media who literally take photos of themselves in different locales. They go to different regions. They open their laptop and they say grind in the hustle, but you never know what they're doing. And they entrepreneur this, entrepreneur that. And because we live in such a social media centric society, people like those are what people think about when they see entrepreneur. They don't think about the dude who owns the local pharmacy, who's trying to compete with Walgreens. You know, it wasn't like that before social media. It really wasn't like that. A lot of people looked at the term entrepreneur and they said, okay, you're unemployed. No,
that's the truth, Johnny.
No, they did. No, they did. You're unemployed. You don't have a job.
What do you mean you don't have a job? I used to get that all the time.
Yeah. So the biggest change is just there's fakers. There are fakers everywhere. And if somebody says they're an entrepreneur and you're talking to them, ask them what they do. Ask them what they do. Ask them how they got there, and try to extract some knowledge so you can separate the fakers from the ones who are actually out there doing it,
Yeah, it's I basically don't allow myself to use the word grind or hustle anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I think we had a whole podcast on that a year ago.
We did.
Yeah.
I like unallowed myself. Like I used grind on accident the other day and I like slapped myself.
Yeah.
And think about this, John, right? There's I love the way you always talk about how you're lacing up and it's like, it's the sport, it's the game of entrepreneurship, and it is because you play it every day. Think about there's no entry point to it. People at this point can just fucking post it on their fucking IG, lie about it. Say, like, when you're let's call it some type of pro athlete, you can't really lie about that. You either play the game or you don't play the game. Like in our game, you can literally just go to Starbucks, take a picture, and say you're an entrepreneur because you've built a website on Wix and fucking.
How about this? Because you have an Instagram account and you have 318 followers. And you reach out to companies and say, hey, I'll promote you to my all 318 of my followers in exchange for this. And then you call yourself an entrepreneur. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And here, technically, you You are, but I don't believe I'm the same as you. I don't believe I'm better than you, but there's a difference in people who build businesses repetitively
Yeah.
and people who just slap that time. It's almost like the fitness thing, right? You know,
Yeah.
everyone's heard me last month talk about
People
putting
love that, by the way. We've seen a lot
I
of
know.
good comments.
I went through some of my messages.
They're amazing.
Yeah. So the whole fitness tag thing, I think, I think that's pretty similar to
I
people
agree.
who call themselves entrepreneurs. It's just everywhere. And it's like, who are you, motherfucker? What do you do?
Yeah, because what I do and what a lot of these other people do are vastly two different things. Agreed. And same with you from an entrepreneurial standpoint, Johnny. I agree.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I did a Q&A on my own Instagram the other day, and one of the questions I tagged you in, I don't know if you saw it. He was like, "What's the number it would cost John Fosco to be a fitness ambassador and change his Instagram name?" I said, "Dude, I don't know if there's a number. He does it for max effort, but I don't think that there's a number you could lure him away."
Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
It's amazing how many people love that whole thing.
It's fucking ridiculous, dude.
All right, here from Bill Jacobs. What are some of the most rewarding experiences you've had through life's journey? He said. So,
I think, okay, so this is going to sound surface, but I'll explain to you why it's not. I think there's been a lot. But maybe this was recent. When I told my mom always can see, what I'm doing and the work, and, it looks like it's working out and all this stuff. But when I actually put it in plain speak, like, Mom, like, because she doesn't work. She worries about things. And I just remember like putting it in plain speak. Mom, I'm a millionaire. And I don't talk like that to
John never talks like this.
Anybody. But then it just stopped her because it wasn't like that is what triggers anything in her. But for that conversation, it basically was like me saying, if
Quit
you
worrying.
aren't aware already, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. And I think sometimes, even though that may sound shallow, I think there's like a lot of like, she probably thinks back to all the hard times, and there's just a lot of pride in like,
of course,
you hear that term, and it's a term to most people that's like, it feels out of reach. It feels out of bounds. And she probably heard it. And I know it just shook her in a good way,
Yeah. Well, it also probably made her worry about you less, worry about her own situation less. And she knows how hard you work. And because you don't talk like that, and you're not a guy that talks about numbers a lot, unless we're in a numbers analytic talk about our business, it's like that probably just made her feel like, my gosh, like this really happened and Johnny got me. And this is what's like that had to be fucking amazing for her. And that had to feel good for you to say, like, I did this, Ma, like, and we're good.
Yeah,
Fuck,
more for her. I think, I wanted her to feel like, because every mom has doubts. Did I do this right? Did I do that right? Did I miss this? Was I a good mom? Was it, so I think, when it's like, oh, are you happy you work so hard? But it's like, yeah, when something like that comes through, I think a mom can say, okay, like, he's doing well, and I tried my best and things are working out. It was more for her than me.
That's cool. I would say probably my most recent one that was similar to that was when Randy retired from the coal mine finally, which was awesome. So Randy's my stepdad, and he's the one that got me a job as a coal miner to save money to move to Columbus to kind of start my whole fitness business. And he worked there for years and years. And, my mom works with me on my website at Cory G Fitness, and she's, continued to get paid more and set them guys up. And he was able to quit literally like, I think almost 3 years early than he would have, in a normal situation. And mostly because my mom works with me. And it was really a cool thing when he called and he's like, look, he goes, I just wouldn't be able to do this, for another 3 years. And I just really appreciate that. And I'm thinking, man, this is awesome for me, because if I didn't have that job, I'd have never been able to get out of there, man. Like my mom didn't have enough money to help me move to Columbus. Like there wasn't any jobs paying that kind of money back there to where I could have put together enough money to pay. Cause everyone else, when I moved to Columbus, their parents co-signed a lease for them. They were getting their college paid for, taking on student debt. Like I didn't have any of that going on. So like I had to pay for one, like because I didn't have a cosigner, I had to pay for my house rent for 1 year in one check. So I dropped like, I get to Columbus, I dropped like $3,500 on a check, boom. And then I paid, $2,000 for school, and then was like, had my living situation. Like if I didn't have a job to be able to accumulate that kind of money, no matter what job it was, I never, it would have been, maybe I'll say never, but it would have been a lot more challenging for me to leave than when I was able to. So it felt good to be able to kind of pay him back from a standpoint of like, be able to help the family be secure. And I always would have took care of my mom, just like, you have, Johnny. But at the end of the day, once they have another husband, that's like their situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be careful how you intervene to a certain point, whether I've been cool with him forever or not. He's the man of the house. And, I'm taking care of my mom because she's working with me. But it was just, I don't know. It was a really cool experience in the same way. Just being able to be like, yeah, I'm confident that we got this. And man, the best thing I could ever say is that you ain't got to go underground anymore. That's cool.
Absolutely. That shit matters.
Absolutely. All right. So, this guy, this is more of a technical question for the podcast. Enlightened Athlete wants to know what type of podcasting gear we use and like the software. And I think this is a cool question just because a lot of people are watching what we do. And, we've went through how many different audio things, John.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've been obsessed with quality audio for years of trying, different things. And we finally ended up with these microphones, which are the Shure mics, SHURE, which is the same thing Joe Rogan uses. They're amazing. I think I really like these mics a lot.
100%. I think they're like the gold standard in podcasting.
They are. I mean, we used the Yeti. We used our headphones. We used the Bluebird thing. We've used literally everything.
Yeah. We have, and the Focusrite. What is it? Focusrite Scarlett?
Yep. The Scarlett Focusrite is like the mixer that we plug the microphones into, and then we can plug. What I love about the Scarlett Focusrite, the single unit, which means one mic. John has, or actually this one has two mics, and you can go right from, it's powered by the computer. And so it goes right into the USB. So literally it goes microphone to the Scarlett to the whatchamacallit, right to the USB. And that's it. It's actually not that crazy.
No, without a doubt. I mean, this stuff's important. And, I think what's so cool is, this stuff's good stuff for sure. But, if you want to start a podcast, bro, all you need is your cell phone. Sure, the audio is not going to be mint, but that's what's so cool. That's what's so cool about this shit is like, man, your fucking iPhone can do everything, dude. It's the key to the world. Before we move on to the next question, I want to share something with you.
Sure, please.
So I was in Atlanta and the gyms are open, and I went to a gym and it was fucking fantastic. And here's what was interesting about it is that, sure, that they had the thing right when you walked in that where they swipe you and they can tell your temperature. But beyond that,
oh, wow.
Every gym always says, there's some sign that says you should, before you get on equipment, you should disinfect it. And when you get off, you should disinfect it. So what's interesting is that is happening.
No one did that before.
No, we were told to do that before. And obviously we didn't do it, but everyone was doing that everywhere. And it was just like, I don't know. It just felt like, okay, yeah, this is a little bit more effort, but like maybe when we get out of this thing, we're just going to be smarter. We're just going to be smarter about how we go about our daily lives. And this was probably, it was a bigger gym. I'd say maybe 15,000 square feet.
Wow.
And it was fine. And everyone was handling their business. Everyone was cleaning up. Like it was awesome to be back in a gym, number one. And in the state of Georgia, obviously they opened up, dude, the restaurants too, bro. Like the restaurants were like normal. The whole 6 feet thing, I didn't really see it going on.
No.
But it felt good to be around some normalcy. Do we know if that's the right move? No, we don't know. But being back in the gym and seeing people disinfect before and after is what we're supposed to do all along. So,
Johnny, did people wear masks in the gym?
No.
Okay, so it was
So I'm sorry. So I saw like 3 people who did. So that was voluntary.
Okay, so that's like on you either way.
Correct. The staff did.
Okay. Yeah, so I need to go through the guidelines were released in Ohio. We can't open till the 26th or 27th, but I got to go through them. I'm not really aware of what we're supposed to do initially, so I've got to figure all that out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I do agree, people are going to be way more cleanly. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Okay. At King Holland, which is actually a guy from our crew in the morning, he wants to know advice on being an effective leader in a purely remote position. Saying like, how do I lead whenever I'm obviously remote like this and not with people, which does, pose some challenges.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you want to be an effective leader, so whatever means King Holland has of communicating, you have to, whether you're in person or whether you're, let's say, on a Skype call or on Zoom or on the phone, you need to communicate like you would in person. And when you're leading, you have to have a clear idea of where you want to take your team, and you have to lay it out for them to understand it, and you have to welcome in input. Always welcome in input. So if you're not in person, it's okay. At the end of the day, a great leader is a great communicator. A great communicator is a great leader. So whatever medium or platform you're using, the same rules apply. And that's, you have the vision, you have the final call, you allow input, you welcome it. If some ideas are better than yours, it's not a competition. That's what your team's there for. That's great. But yeah, it's essentially making sure that people understand that this is the path we're going down, but I need you to make, to make the road a little bit smoother. So give me your ideas, and we'll do this together.
Well, I think when your whole team's remote like that, the communication and the system is so important. So they have to know that on Monday they have to have this ready for you to go over, ideas to shake around, and on Wednesday you're going to go over this. And not just having meetings about meetings, but the fact that you're doing, very like pinpointed type things at certain points of the week, probably if you have multiple staff and you're always consistent about it, which is, a lot of people's challenges and my challenges a lot of times too. It's like, that is going to be key. So people can count, once people can count on you to keep them accountable, and then there's going to be positive feedback or whatever. I think that that's probably what people are looking for, ain't it, John?
Yeah, it's a good point. And the one thing I've had successful, let's say, leading duties, and I've had not successful based on my career. And the most successful ones are always when, regardless who it is, you set the expectation up front. Like, so there's absolutely, so when you're not around, if someone were to ask you, what does your leader, what does your boss, what does your job expect from you? And their answer should be the same as your answer if someone were to ask you as the leader what that individual's expectations are, and what their duties are. So setting expectations up front, and that's how you manage people. You don't manage people on how they're feeling that day or their mood. You manage people based on the expectations that were set at the outset of their work, because then it's plain and simple. It's like, this is what you agreed to do. This is what I said I needed you to do. We're not talking about all this other stuff, because that's not why you got brought in. We're talking about the expectations that were set. So setting expectations up front makes managing people very, very easy.
Well, and basically it's like a mutual contract that you guys are both aware of. That's really what it is, right? You're setting the expectations. They've agreed to it. You have a mutual contract that says this is what we're agreeing to do, and that's why you get paid.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. At Craig Bowdoin. Okay. If you're doing a group presentation, is it okay that you don't always stand out more than others? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, of course, because if it's group anything, it's not about you. It's about putting out the best group presentation, and whatever role you either elected to have or you received, your job is to make sure you smash that role, number one, and then come through and support the others if they need help, and you can give them input. So anything that's group or team, is not about you. You just got to make sure you do your part. And if your part isn't being out front and isn't shining, it doesn't mean it's any less important. You know what I'm saying? I think there's this gratification that people seek, that like, oh, I want to be out front. So if our group kills it, no. If your group kills it, your group kills it. Like no one person does it. So I think it's just taking that, taking the me out of the equation and really understanding it is the we, you know?
I think just making sure whatever your role is, take it super serious. And if for some reason, let's say you're at work and you're doing a group presentation and it comes to your area and you're not out front and you're actually presentation, part of it is a small, but you blaze that, not in some like flamboyant, crazy way, but just with your with your knowledge, with your energy, with the way you do it, your craft and what you do within the group will, if it's going to stand out, then the person's going to pick it up. Like if you're half-ass, you didn't put your time in and you're not that excited about it, they're going to see that too. So it doesn't have to be the lead role. You know what I'm saying? It can be the third person down, but you can still showcase what you're about in a group manner. And that's the thing, like just make sure, just because you might not be the number one, you still got to take it just as serious, I guess, which is also kind of piggyback off what you said.
Yeah. And so let's say you're not the number one in the hypothetical scenario, you're the number three. That doesn't mean you don't get to be the number one, because when everything's all said and done, let's say there's 5 of you and everybody knows that you obviously smoked your portion.
Yep.
And you were there to help them finish off you were the guy who basically gave everyone else the finishing touches, not the number one, because the number one was focused on the number one. So you can still take these opportunities to be the leader, even if you're not elected the leader by your action, not by what title people put on you. So I like to take things. So I would just crush my part and then I would help everyone else, and everyone else would know, yeah, that dude might be the leader, but that motherfucker right there is the MVP.
Yeah. He's about his shit.
Yeah.
He's a number 3. People
right.
That's the thing. Real people pick up on stuff if you're about your business. Don't you think, John? Like you don't have to do something crazy. If you got your shit together, motherfuckers that are in the motherfuckers that are in those positions are going to see it, especially if you're consistent.
Well, yeah, 100%. And if you apply it to this situation, it's like if you're working on something and you're having trouble finishing it, and somebody who already fucking clearly finished their shit comes over, doesn't have to, but they come over and they help you. And they like show you some knowledge that you didn't have. The guy who's barking up front saying he's the leader, they're going to know that like you talk with your action, and what you gave them was invaluable. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it's like, you don't need to say anything. You just, again, it's just outperforming people. And it's not the point isn't to outperform someone, but if it's there, take it, help people, that's how people fucking build respect and trust and will follow you,
Continue to deliver and people are fucking see it, dude. I mean, the results will speak. At Johnny Esquire wants to know, in hindsight, what's one of the most valuable setbacks you've experienced, whether it's in the gym or biz or life? Just a point or two.
I think one of the most valuable setbacks is that, so the way I am, the way I was, the way I'm genetically programmed was holding me back. So a setback I had, I've brought it up on here before, is that like, so just because I'm an aggressive monster by nature, I needed to go through some pain in business where people would move away or be afraid to work, to understand that, we all say that's just who I am. That's just how I am. If you want more in business, that's not good enough. So a setback I had is basically like, well, if that's just how you roll, you're hitting the ceiling. So you either fucking adjust that shit or this is your ceiling. And I had to adjust it, and it was hard, but it was so valuable. So to anybody out there who's like, this is just how I am, Well, you saying that is why you're going to stay exactly where you are.
Yeah, I think a setback for me that was just hugely valuable was, coming off of Muscle Farm, not doing and ending how I necessarily wanted it to or how I thought it would. And then, having to be okay and getting up the next day and go, all right, well, that shit is literally done. And I couldn't wait or mourn it or wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda. I was like, I need to just make a hard cut and I need to start on my new projects that I believe in, and I can't look back. And I can refer back to it. I can not do things again. I can obviously utilize some of the assets that were created during that process for the new businesses, but just about all how I stood back up, and man, it just made me so much of a better person. I learned so much through it. I learned that I could, really, I've made the decision. No one told me, oh, hey, dude, it's time to move on or whatever. I just woke up one day and was like, I just really ain't down for this no more. I need a fresh start. I need to work with some new people. I need, I need to be invigorated. I need to not I can't hate what I'm doing. It's just, I know there's people that I fucking dislike my job for 10 years. I'm not willing to do that. I liked it for a while. I didn't like it for a while. And I said, fuck it, I need to change it. But still, leaving something you pour everything into for almost a decade, basically, probably felt like 20 years because the amount of time I put in, that shit is hard to do, especially when it doesn't end the way you necessarily want it to, right, yeah. Johnny? And then so to have to be able to then stand back up and face the questions of, what happened or why'd you leave, and go with these newer initiatives that are perceived to be, it just is what it is, way smaller on a scale of business, even though they're way more profitable and productive. But people don't know that. And it doesn't really matter what they think, but just going through all of those things and those emotions and that time and coming out, feeling way more happy and really thankful. It was, that was interesting for me. And I think that that's something that was, needed, hugely valuable. And I just grew so much from that process since, late 2015 to now, which has been fucking 5 years, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when you say that because, the same thing really, happened to me. Obviously some details are different, but,
real similar, dude.
Yeah. MMA was my career. What I did, was, built up, and it was great. You know what I'm saying? But there was, it ended in a way that was not the way I would like it to, but that's business. And what's interesting is I hear you talk about it, and it like reminded me that I literally think I just move forward so fast, and I don't even think about like if something's over, like it's over. And
yeah.
It's funny because when you're talking, I'm like, yeah, that's me too. But like, I never think about it.
No, and I agree with you, John. And mine was, I remember it being, for me, it's going to sound funny. It was like about a week though. I think because I was like, I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I was just kind of shook from just the process of the stress and the craziness. And once it finally calmed, and I literally remember, like, I didn't set my alarm the next day. Like, I woke up, I didn't essentially have a job or whatever, and I was just like, took a deep breath, and I was like, all right, now you need to start to get your brain right. But I knew like it was a hard stop. Like, I didn't wish I was still there. I wasn't second guessing. Like, I knew it was the right decision, but I think just the magnitude of what had happened for that business, and same with you, the things that you guys had built there were monsters, and we built a lot of it kind of simultaneously, right? So that was, but I can never not say that I didn't roll the fucking dice, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Johnny, in your industry, especially MMA, you were the biggest for that.
It's all part of the ride, baby. It's all part
of the ride.
And I think the ride ain't over.
No, but I think that, and that's one of the things I take a lot of pride in. And I saw within my industry of fitness, the respect that when I just keep coming back, that I wasn't a one trick kind of, company pony type dude, that this is what I do. This is what I continue to do. And I'll have more success with other businesses. And it was interesting, like going back to the Arnold Classic, I had a year off because of non-compete, going back with Max Effort and Johnny and us building that, and just the way that my site's done and just my personality in the fitness. Like, it just, I don't know, a lot of the OGs were showing me love because they knew I wasn't going nowhere. And that meant a lot to me because, just respect from your peers. It's not necessary, but it's nice to see when people are like, yeah, man, well, it would be interested to see like how you respond from that, So it's cool. All right. At Athen 13 wants to know tips on making an impact as an internship position. He's in a civil engineering construction industry. If you got an internship right now, that's love, because there's a lot of, jobs is tricky right now.
Yeah, I mean, how to make an impact anywhere. I think whether it's civil engineering or wherever, it's pretty universal, and that's like be the guy or the gal that does all the things that you don't have to. So if you're an intern and you're required to be there from 9 to 3 or whatever, be there from 8 to fucking 8. Leave with the guy that leaves last. Like just let them know even though you don't know their system, you don't know their business. That's how you get to know a system and you get to know a business, especially if you're, interning for a new company. People recognize that. They say, like, this fucking kid, he's not getting paid, but this motherfucker won't leave. This dude won't fucking leave. And that's respect. You don't have to have this insane level of skill. They know already you're committed because you're there, you're not getting paid, and you won't leave. You're just trying to soak up as much as humanly possible, guys. And I don't think there's any way around this, because if you just do what you're told to do, you're just doing what you're told to do, and you're another intern. That's all you are. So I think just going way above the call of duty is basically, you're going to create allies within those walls in that company, people who have serious positions, because plain and simple, they're going to respect your commitment.
If you only meet just exactly what's asked, then it's hard to grow from there. I just think that people that over deliver, even if it's 10% or stay 10% more, or, bring things to you that are valuable, like that's how you build and continue to grow. Like, so you need to start that stuff off the gate. I think that when people know you're serious, like we've had interns come through and you can see it. You can see the way they operate. You can see they're just talking when they need to talk, but when they got a task, you can tell they do it to 100%. That's how people start to see, like, all right, this is the next dude's going to be through the spot right here. I can see what he got, so you can, those little, once again, real motherfuckers, not the fake ones that are on Instagram that don't have a business. Real business guys see shit like this a mile away. They just do. Yeah. Especially if you're consistent with it. You do this for a whole quarter. Let's say you have an internship for a quarter and you consistently operate like John just said. Even if you go back to school, don't you think your name's going to be on the fucking whiteboard somewhere? I'm telling you.
Nobody's going to question what you want. You don't have to say a word. Everyone knows what you want.
Action speaks, bro.
Yeah, it's not that difficult.
People think that there always needs to be something said, I think. And what you got to understand is motherfuckers are watching, bro.
Well, I think something needs to be said, but they also think that they shouldn't, or their time is worth more to give more. Like, they shouldn't give more. Like, if someone's giving you the opportunity, please take that word in your head, of an internship, like, why aren't you giving them more time? Because that's just going to say to them, this dude's about it. But a lot of people are like, man, I'm giving them enough time. I'm not paid, dude. I'm not paid. So I'm only doing 9 to 3. I'm not paid. Bro, you asked for the opportunity. You could have a career if you show these people you're about it. Are you going to bitch about not being paid, which you knew you weren't going to be? Or are you going to take your time that the free market says isn't worth anything and give them more of it to show them that you're their guy? I mean, that's your call. That's your fucking call.
Earn it. Some of the stuff just thinks a lot of people think it just should be given.
Nothing's given. Yeah, nothing's given.
Okay. At Deemer 88, we haven't talked about this in a while. So Bitcoin, yay or nay? John has some history with Bitcoin.
I do have some history with Bitcoin. Absolutely. Luckily, luckily I made some money, but not as much as I could have. And had some partners who made a billion. But here's the thing about Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin it's always going to be this great speculative instrument. It's very volatile. If you want something that has extremely high upside, or obviously there's extreme downside. If you want a volatile trading currency, get Bitcoin. I don't think people should buy Bitcoin to use it as currency. I think they should buy it to trade it and to make money, because as things destabilize, like during a pandemic, what always happens, markets get uneasy, and then gold goes up because gold is gold, and alternative currencies also go up because, that's how it goes. But here's the thing about Bitcoin is because it's so hard to understand.
So hard.
And because nobody controls it. See, that's the beauty of here. That's the blessing and the curse of it. It's the blessing because nobody can manipulate the currency. It's unmanipulatable, period. It cannot be manipulated. That's the beauty of it. So it's going to have solid worth. But the government does not like things that they can't understand or B, control. So you're going to be always fighting. If you're a Bitcoin bull and you're long Bitcoin, you're always going to be fighting regulation. Always, because it's not traceable, trackable, and they can always say, well, this is how criminals can pass money. You know what I'm saying? But criminals pass cash too. So it's just, listen, I think it's good to have limited exposure in Bitcoin. So if I was investing a pie graph, maybe I'd put 5% of my exposure into Bitcoin, because there is upside,
So you really think like having some of it, because, a lot of people were saying by the time we're old, this shit's going to be $100,000 a coin. I don't know if I believe that, but who's to say they're not right? Depends on how much we rely on it. Down the road.
Yeah. It's, here's the thing.
You saw, when you owned it, John, you made good money on it, but it was like $250, right?
About $240, $250 when I got in. I made some money on it. No, I didn't obviously sell it when it was 20,000, but I think I probably bought it in 2013 or 2014. But yeah, it was just because I was exposed to some people who got in early, and they were heavy. So I tried to understand it, and it was a great trading tool. But for anyone who's looking at it now, listen, I think if you are an investor, like dip your feet in the water before you dive in. So buy some, or buy half a Bitcoin or whatever, and then watch how it moves, and then read the news that connects to what moves it, and then you make your own decision. But there's no doubt that there's upside on Bitcoin.
This is a two-part question, John. You're gonna love it. At Weigh-In 404, I believe that people need at least one gym manager John Fosco story per show, with a lot of laughing faces. But his real question was, what was my first impression of John, and then what was his first impression of me? And if I try to remember back when I first started dealing with John, which had to be around Clay Guida, right, Johnny? That would have been our first probably interaction right around there.
Me and you started dealing with each other. I think it was on Travis.
Maybe it was on Travis. Yeah, when Travis was coming up, early Travis. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of that was done over the phone. I think when we actually saw each other in person, was either at an event where I didn't get a lot of time with you, or it would have been when you actually pitched like the big deal. And I just remember with John, I liked that he didn't play the suit and tie part, because neither do we. So I like that. I was super impressed by the amount of ink that was going on the paper as John was talking, which is just one of his things. Like John doodles like at a heavy amount when he's like deep in thought. And so he did this in the meeting. And I remember him leaving the piece of paper there. And after we did the deal with him, and I was like, there's a whole ink pen on this piece of paper. But I remember a couple things. He knew, this is obviously his strategy. You guys have heard so many times on the show, exactly what we needed from his service. He assured us that we would get more for our money and we would have more time, which are all things we needed. So John was answering needs of ours as a big business with something he did really well. And he was intense about it. And you can tell he really not only knew the sport, but he loved the sport. And so the thing is, I knew if we were picking a winner, John knew all the background. Like I got this from dealing with him, and the intensity, that didn't bother me at all because he was about to be on our team. Essentially, he was a guy that was going to be working with us. I wanted somebody that was pushing prices down, getting us more fucking for our money, that loved the sport, that was in it. So it really was more about just like figuring out the budgets, figuring out the way we operated. But in reality, John's strategy of doing the things with his business to complement what we absolutely needed, that was literally my first, because otherwise we dealt with each other on the phone. Things were always done and delivered. So there was no reason to have a bad first impression with John. It's not like John came in, fucking blowing the doors down and saying, like some like crazy maniac. John was so precise because he knew exactly what we needed. And on top of it, he knew if that business fell, essentially, like that was the first domino that fell for his business, which I believe it was. And that he could then leverage because everyone knew how much money we were spending. So I knew that too, but respect to it because but it helped us. So that was if I try to think back, that's how I kind of process it. Does that make sense, Johnny?
Yeah. And it makes total sense. In my first impression,
be nice, John. No.
Was because I was so intent on getting the partnership done, but it took a year.
Wow.
Was that I just always would think like he's gonna get it one day that I'm trying to take work off his plate. Like one day he's gonna get it, because it took about a year, for you to be like, all right, fuck it, let's sit down. Like, because I'm like, bro, you don't want to do this shit. This isn't your.
I hated chasing Brazilian cousins, bro.
And I kept telling you that, but you're like, yeah, that's what I do right now. But I'm like, that's not what you have to do. I promise you. And it was just like, my thought was like, okay, he's probably getting to know me. He's probably getting used to the thought of, if I relinquish that, what am I doing? And I believe when you relinquish that, you were able to do what, like the fitness.
What I do.
Right. Exactly. So
instead of chasing so-and-so's Brazilian cousin, I was creating content for bodybuilding.com, which by the way is what I do. I don't do that other thing, but but see, you know what though, John, that reminds me of what people don't realize is I was like a utility guy, essentially, throughout that process until it was time for me to really do what I really do. And I don't even know if people really knew that I did it or could do it at the level that I'm able to, like my skills. But I did what was needed, which came down to whether it was going to GNC, chasing, so-and-so down, or trying to do things with Jake Ellenberger or whatever the fuck I was doing. I just did it because that's what was needed.
Yeah, I just remember like every week being like, dude, okay, so you guys spend this money, right? You're gonna spend it anyways. I tell you what, take 100,000, 200,000 off it, give it to me, and I'll give you more, and I'll take your job, and you don't have to pay me. Yeah, and you were like, okay, like I was like,
you did the Italian, a deal you can refuse.
yeah, I was making an offer you can't refuse.
That's what you did understand though is like, all right, I just know this isn't what, and I didn't even love the sport. That's just the truth. I
knew that.
I was honest about that.
Fucking pounding it, man. I'm like, so good. Fuck, yeah.
It's funny to think back to that, ain't it, John?
Mm-hmm.
So wild. All right. Hold on. I was too busy listening to what you were saying, and I wasn't going over what the next question was. I was trying to. All right. So Trey had a good couple questions. All right. The coronavirus is definitely real. I think we both agree with that. But is it more a political thing now than a actual safety thing now? And we probably don't want to go super deep down the politics side, but like, is it becoming more about that and less about actual virus? In your opinion, John?
Yes, it is, and I think you're seeing it in, I touched on this before, but when you are told things, and I'll just give like 2 examples, right? Like, God damn it, John, what the fuck?
Silence that phone, Fosco.
Son of a bitch. When you're told things, when you're told things by who you're supposed to listen to, the federal government, like social distancing, like wear a mask. Okay. I'm just using those 2 examples. And then
Sure.
when you see the leaders on a stage and they're not social distancing and they don't wear masks, it's ridiculous, because what happens is they're saying a mask is good, and you see Democrats wear masks. So the Democrats attack the Republicans for not keeping their word. And then the Republicans are not wearing masks because they believe it's not as bad as people say it is. But it's like we're playing politics now in the middle of a time where we just need certainty. And I have absolutely given up on following anyone's guidelines, listening to anyone, following anyone's standards, and I have just consumed the data that I've chosen to consume. I'm a believer that it is not dangerous to me, and I'm going to live my life accordingly. That's it. That's my choice, because it has become so politicized, and I'm done with it. I can get my data without going into a bubble. And the way I process it is it's not a danger to me. People could say whatever they want, and I'm going to live my life and make my decisions.
Yeah. I don't go on like Facebook. I think might be the worst for it. I don't really go on Facebook very much, like my personal Facebook. Like I'll put stuff out on the business Facebook. But what I probably dislike the most about it is how I know people want to be vocal about their positioning on the pandemic, but it's only the positioning mostly based around politics. And I think what I hate about it is that whether I believe one thing or believe another, if you believe a certain way and someone else believes heavy the other way, it's hard, even though you want to, once you know that, you can't unsee it. And then I see somebody in the community, and even though we've had no problems ever, you know that about them, and then you feel a different way. And I wish I didn't feel that way. I'm just trying to be the most honest about it, because I wish like you didn't repost that thing that was fucking outrageous, or you didn't repost that, but I can't unsee it. So even though I don't treat them any different, but I just think it's like, man, it's weird that why aren't we just talking about how to keep each other safe? And that it becomes more about those things. And then to me, it just gets all kind of jumbled, and it just makes me feel maybe different about people who I wouldn't normally feel different about. And I don't know why I feel that way. That's just a natural reaction. I'm not saying I want to. I'm just saying I like almost can't stop it. And you know what I'm trying to get at? Like it's kind of sucks, because it's not even like that we're like super homies, but there's I like to say, acquaintances that I'm cool with, and then I like still cool with them, but then I know like, man, I saw that shit you reposted. That shit's fucking crazy talk. Like, and I don't want to know that, but whatever. I know it now. So that's my problem right now.
What I don't like is that you hit the pause button when shit goes crazy, like we did. Okay, that was a choice that was made. You cannot stop living your life. You cannot stop living your life. And nobody knows right now what is the best option. So when nobody knows what the best option is, you have to let people make their own decisions. That's how I feel. Listen, if there was a joint federal response, like they have in China or South Korea, then we follow those rules. But right now, it's like with the situation we have, individuals have to make their decisions, and that's it. Like, we don't need to be arguing. If you think it's safe to be in the house, be in the house. If I think it's safe to go about my business, I'm going to go about my business. Let everyone do what they want to do. Period.
That's it. All right, we're going to finish up with something fun. Well, I don't know how fun it is, but I know you like to talk about this. What is the music that John Fosco has been jamming to lately? What's making John Fosco happy on his musical selection?
Man, there's
what's your go-to right now, Fosco?
Dude, I because just because I had a little ride to it.
That new Drake, somebody just said.
Fuck out of here, dude.
They was hot. Hey, they was hot on that one quick.
Shit.
That's amazing. Left foot slide, right foot. What the fuck?
I don't know what it is. Okay, so I'm looking forward to Run the Jewels new album. It's coming out I believe in June. There's 2 singles out right now. One's called Yankee and the Brave. One's called Ooh La La. I like both of them.
That's cool.
But honestly, I've been jamming to, just because I drove to Atlanta, it's a live Rage album that was recorded in the LA Coliseum where the Raiders play. And my God, if you are going to listen to them loud, the way they record a lot of live records, the sound is, it's either too much drum or too much guitar or too much. Man, I'm telling you right now, fucking check it out, because I was on fire with this fucking shit. So it's live from the LA Coliseum, and I think it was on the Battle of Los Angeles tour, but it is such a good live album. It's like so fucking good, man.
That's cool. Yeah, I got a Rage story for you. One of my friends that I meet with like once a month that owns some car dealerships is named Billy. He said that there's out by where, not far from our office, John, there's a place called Legend Valley that had Lollapaloozas back in the day. They have like the Juggalos and shit there now. Like, they still have big concerts there. It's probably like 15 minutes from Newark, but it's this huge ranch that has music festivals. Well, early Lollapaloozas used to come there, I guess. Now, I didn't live here, so I didn't remember. That would have been like, when he's I think about the same age as us, but when I was in high school age, I was, down in Steubenville. But he said like they would go to Lollapaloozas like in the early 90s there. And that the first Lollapalooza, which I don't know what year it is, you might know, that Rage Against the Machine was part of the ticket.
Oh, 93, I think.
Okay, they went to that, but it must have been early in the season, or stuff hadn't hit yet. He said, dude, they were on a side stage. He had never heard of them. Yeah. And that Zach came out, right? You're going to love this. Zach came out and was like literally trying to get people to come over and listen. Like, come on over here. Like, basically. And he said they started getting a little bit of a crowd. And he said to him, everyone go up to every fucking cop and say, fuck you, or some shit like that. And then he just started fucking, ripping whatever the main song was at the time. But he said it was wild. It was like, they're on a fucking, like, on a grass field outside of Newark, basically. Yeah. And it's fucking Rage Against the Machine. And he said it was spectacular.
Oh,
he said
they blew up so fast.
So he must have been early in that process of whenever they were at, there in that tour. But he was just telling me about the other day, and you could see like when he was telling the story, Billy was like lit up, like it was like one of the best things he ever experienced
I'm sure. You can go on YouTube and you can Google their first performance ever. And I believe it's at university. It's at like a university in like a park, bro. And no one's ever heard of them. And there's like 8 people.
So good. That's basically what Billy said it sounded like was happening at this thing.
But they never put out an album. Nothing. There was just like 8 people. Like little did they know what they were watching, but they start fucking rocking and rolling. But two bands I like right now for people who are just looking for that. One, actually from the area where I grew up in Elmhurst, Illinois, the Orwells. Very, very good rock band. Very good rock band. And two, this dude, Ron Gallo. Real good thinker, really cool lyrics. Ron Gallo, the Orwells.
So I've been on a Ghostface Killer and Led Zeppelin kick, which is two vastly different.
Okay.
Two vastly different bands or rap group band. But I think that I started following the RZA again. So I started seeing just a lot of Wu-Tang stuff in general. And all in all, Ghostface is always my favorite. Dustin and I saw Ghostface in person like right before John moved away from Ohio, and that came back up on my timeline the other day about being there watching Ghostface. So I started kind of going back through his catalog, and then I was running around the other day and I just threw in some Zeppelin, and I just used to listen to Zeppelin quite a bit in high school, and just Robert Plant, just so fucking good, bro.
What album?
I have the box set, or had the box set, so that's where I used to just listen to kind of everything.
Oh, it's like the crop circles on it?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was like the I think it was the guy. It's the one where the guy's holding something over his. I don't know if it's Crop Circles, John. The main album I always listen to was it might be the one that has Stairway to Heaven in it. But
that's Led Zeppelin 4.
Okay. Yeah. So like you're gonna laugh, but I remember
he's carrying it. It's like a gray cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember from having the actual CDs. I mean, because when I bought Led Zeppelin, I had a CD player in my car. But that's how I remember the albums, from the CDs that I had. But I just think, like, I don't know, anytime, like, is it Black Dog?
Black Dog, rock and roll when the levee breaks.
Yeah, that whole album is so good, dude. So that and like you said, you can tell that I'm not a huge like rock fan, but that's something that I know most of the words of. I might not even know all the song names, but like
they don't have one bad song. So for everyone listening, Led Zeppelin has I don't know how many albums is it, maybe 7 or 8. They don't have one bad song. So you could you can go on like fucking Apple Music and just put like on the Led Zeppelin Essential Collection, which is basically all their. So I'm telling you, they do not have one bad song. Led Zeppelin does not have one bad song.
No, I agree with that. And they would go that their whole album would be top to bottom. You could listen straight through one after the other. And that's one thing I recognized super early. When I did listen to them, like in high school, I was like, man, it's like, I don't have to skip through any of these. Now, Stairway to Heaven's like fucking 10 minutes long, so I might not always listen to that. But at the end of the day, all of those songs are really good. So,
but Stairway to Heaven has the fucking payoff at the end.
Of course, dude. Yeah, of course.
And as we wind on down the road, yes, our shadows taller than our souls. Over the Hills and Far Away, though, probably my favorite Zeppelin song.
That's funny. I think we share that, John. I like Over the Hills and Far Away a lot. That and Dire Maker always was pretty cool. I enjoyed that too because it was kind of different. But
yeah, it's a little reggae-ish. Black Country Woman.
I don't know if I probably wouldn't know if I heard it.
There's so many, Ramble
Over the Hills and Far Away though.
Over the Hills and Far Away, Ramble On. There's for everyone who hasn't listened to, one of the best parts of my life was discovering Zeppelin, because their catalog's so big and they're so amazing. So if someone's listening, they're like, you know what, I've never really listened.
You should
fucking go in, bro. Like, you will not regret.
That's coming from a guy that mostly only listens to rap music. Like, I don't really listen to rock music at all. Now, I don't mind Pearl Jam, or I used to listen to Scott Weiland a lot, like Stone Temple Pilots, and even some Nirvana, because that's kind of my age group. But at the end of the day, like, I don't pick to listen to those things like during normal, but I will pick to listen to Zeppelin. So maybe some people will experience Zeppelin, some of our younger crowd.
Oh, honestly, discovering Zeppelin, just sit back and maybe take some drugs and enjoy the ride. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not advising that.
I'm not either, but I was just like, I don't know, maybe. So,
all right, we're gonna get out of here. Johnny Fosco. Gee, can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast
can't be stopped.